Hello, and welcome back. Hope everybody had a good break. I'm going to show off at the beginning here, as a follow-up to our discussion of the computer science job market, the info that I got from last year's computer science graduates. So the people who just finished last semester, I just polled those guys and they just recently got back to me. So I have their info. This should be pretty fresh. It should be post-pandemic and all that good stuff. So this should be relevant to all of you who are trying to secure jobs in computer science today. And hopefully I can zoom in on this a little more because I see it's quite small. There we go. Awesome. Okay, now this is obviously a little bit biased. We know that if you were to, say, do badly, you didn't get a job, you were ashamed, then you probably wouldn't respond to this. I don't know, maybe you've got more time to vent. I don't know. Don't expect this to be a scientific survey of people. People aren't necessarily always honest in surveys, especially free casual surveys like this one. I got a good response rate. I think we graduated something like 15 people last semester. So it's like half the people who graduated at least. Don't remember those exact numbers there. But it looks like not everybody's in the stream yet, so I'm going to hold off for a minute before we start running through these. So I think a lot of people are probably rightly concerned that it's going to be pretty difficult to find employment in this post-pandemic environment. I would say that to an extent, yeah, it's obviously a lot harder. A lot of jobs in different fields have totally dried up. On the other hand, working in Cleveland gives you a big advantage, and that's that you are willing to take a lot less money than most people, because in Cleveland, you live like a king for 60K, whereas in San Francisco, you live in a box for 60K. So, as Clevelanders, you are able to be competitive on salary, and employers know that to an extent. So, if you're looking for remote work, you might have a bit of an edge. Now, I will say that if you are looking for remote work, I looked for remote work many years ago, and I think it's the same today. If you've never worked remotely before, it's very difficult to get a job working remotely, even if you've worked real jobs before, because working remote is a really different beast, and they know it. And so they typically only want people who they know are going to be comfortable with that remote work. A lot of people can't hack it, and they end up dropping out, and that's obviously bad for the company because they have to find somebody new. So this class is a good simulation of remote work. If you're applying for a remote work job, consider finding a way to rope this experience into your resume or into your cover letter somewhere, so you can make it clear that you're familiar with how to work with a team remotely, with some of the tools that requires, etc. Alright, let's dive into some of these responses from different students last year. So, most people were able to find a job in computer science after they graduated, 90%, so almost everybody got a job in a CS-related position. That is, some people might have stayed in their non-CS job or not found one. Alright, of the people who found work, most of them found full-time work, though about 10% of them, again, only found part-time work in computer science. So most of the people who found work found full-time work. Most people don't plan to enroll in graduate school, and nobody that I surveyed did enroll in graduate school. A lot of people out there are considering graduate school as an alternative to work while the economy is bad. I know that that was something that a lot of people considered during the last recession as well. If you were graduating in 2008, 2009, it was sometimes wise to continue your education instead of trying to find a job in a terrible market. So we have a pretty sizable chunk of people planning to enroll in grad school soon, which I think is a sign of the poor job market. Maybe they didn't find the kind of job they wanted, or maybe they just wanted to go to grad school. Now, there's a lot of responses here in the how many job applications did you fill out. I mentioned what people in the previous years have told me as their average, and then the most successful versus the median successfulness folks. So we're looking at quite a few people said 10 or fewer. So there's 2 people who just said 1, 1 person who said 2, a person who said 5, and a person who said 9. I would take all of these folks here as people who probably already had a job lined up, or they had an in at a company and they knew that they were going to have a job somewhere. All right, so I would take all of these responses with that understanding. Now, that might not be the case, but I think that probably if you've sent that few as a CS undergrad, you've either fallen into one of 2 categories. You either had the job lined up or you were exceptionally qualified and you know it. So maybe you've had 3 internships, you have experience. If you're super qualified and you know it, you can afford to send out very few applications. However, for the rest of us, if you don't have an in, don't have a job lined up, and you are median qualified, maybe above average, maybe below average, you're probably going to fall into more of what these people are saying, 30, 50, 75, 85 job applications. Not too many people went crazy with it, I get, last semester. It's also possible there just weren't that many openings to apply to. But, I mean, this is more inside the realm of what I would consider a good amount of applications to send to find one good job coming out of undergrad. How many first replies did you get? So we've got most people saying they just got 1, 2, or 3. And then some people got quite a few. We've got a 4, an 8, a 9, and a 12. This includes phone interviews, skill tests, whatever, so everybody was able to define this on their own terms. It's pretty common to get skill tests or some kind of first-tier interview, okay? But don't expect to get a ton of them. But, you know, it looks like that tracks with about 10%, 20% of the number of applications that people sent in. All right, how many interviews did you get? So only count full interviews for this response, so not like phone interviews, although in the time of the pandemic, obviously, a lot of people conduct their full interviews over phone or Zoom, so I hope that people would have counted that here. I'm assuming that they counted any kind of full interview they got. This tracks again to like maybe half of what the previous screening phase had, so most people had either 1 or 2 full interviews, which again puts you in a little bit of a risky situation because the odds you're going to get a job after you've had the interview are usually about 50-50. And then a few people had 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 in-person or full interviews. Roughly how many job offers did you get? Here's where we see the equalizer, right? So 0, 1, or 2. And that's when most people stop, right? So most people stop sending applications once they get a job offer. Your real goal, though, I think, is to be one of these people with 2. Then, first of all, you get to choose. Best of all, you get to bargain. You get to say, you know, they're offering me such and such. Would you be able to match it? That's a reasonable and great way to negotiate. So try to get at least 2 offers on the table from different companies. All right, and again, 1 offer for, you know, however many resumes, however many applications you sent out. So 30, 50, 75, 85, these people are all still represented down here as 0, 1, or 2 offers. That was the case for everybody. Okay, if you participated in practicing algorithms as part of your job hunt, so if you did like LeetCode questions or something, about how many hours would you say that you spent doing that? I left this kind of open-ended. I probably could have phrased it better. So most people said none. One person said they did 3 or 4 a week, about 6 before the interview. Okay, some people said they did about 4. I'm assuming this is like 4 hours a week or 4 hours, yeah, probably a week. One said not applicable, and one said 1 LeetCode problem a day. So these are healthy amounts if you're planning to get a job at one of the FANGs or one of those companies that's probably going to give you one of those crazy algorithm tests before you're able to start working there. All right, so think about starting that now if you're interested in one of those careers and joining one of the FANGs or one of those high-end companies. Did you have any offers withdrawn due to the pandemic? So a few people mentioned they had internships withdrawn when I was talking to some people from this semester. Did anybody lose job offers And I was also talking to some of last year's grads, and some of them too said that they had an offer pulled at least. Only one person in this survey had an offer withdrawn, so that's great. That means that CS is pretty stable. Even in this trying time, a lot of offers are staying on the table. Did you lose a job you already had? Again, a little bit disturbing that we have at least two folks who did lose their job due to the pandemic. So that's a real shame. It also is a shame for you guys because that's two more people in competition with you on the job market. So expect that the market for you, it might be even more competitive than the market for these folks last semester. Although they were right in the thick of it, and it might be lifting for you guys. I've seen quite a few reports that remote hiring is starting to pick back up again. So who knows? It might be better for you, but again, might be worse because there's all these other folks out there pursuing a new job. Are you working remotely today? 2/3 say yes. So even most of these people probably did not find a remote job. These are probably mostly traditional employment. I should have asked if they had a remote job previously. I didn't think. But most of them are working remotely now, which is great, again, because you don't want to be an essential employee that has to go into work every day during this crap. So good choice on computer science, a profession where it is possible to work from home. Working from home is lovely when you're able to do it. After you got your job offer, did you negotiate for pay or compensation? Oh, what a heartbreaker that so few people said yes, right? Terrible. Terrible. Make sure that when I pull you guys on this next semester, this whole frickin' thing is blue. I want to see everybody at least negotiate for something. Even if you don't get anything, at least you tried. Among the two people who did negotiate, I said, if yes, what percent did you improve your compensation by negotiation? Enter 0 if it didn't improve at all. So if you gained $5,000 on a $50,000 offer, that'd be 10%, and then provide your best improvement if you negotiated multiple positions. So there were only 2 respondents who said yes. Obviously one said 0 and another said 10%. 10% is a solid pay bump too, a solid pay bump indeed. And I will tell you that the respondent who answered yes had by far the highest salary of anybody who answered, right? So being the type of person to negotiate seems to mean something, even if that 10% wasn't that much of a move. I'm going to show you the salaries in a second, but that fella had by far, well, I don't know who they are. This was anonymous. So that person had by far the highest salary of anyone who responded. All right, so if you're comfortable sharing your base annual salary and the city that you work in, a little bit disappointing for us Clevelanders because only 2 respondents found, or 3 respondents found a job in Cleveland, but 1 is probably remote based on their comment that it's prone to relocation. It's probably either they float at an international company, so they'll go between different field offices, or they are remote, or they are planning to relocate to wherever their employer actually is. So 3 jobs in Cleveland. The rest still local in the Midwest: Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Chicago, all in the Midwest. Great. The person who negotiated is that 85K respondent, so they're at least 10%, 15% higher than their next best paid graduate, right? So if if you want to get paid the most, you need to negotiate. And then obviously the Cleveland offers, compared to Pittsburgh, where the cost of living is slightly higher, and Chicago, where the cost of living is much higher, are fairly good. Those are fairly good responses. So it looks like this year had some pretty solid salary offers. That's great. And here I just had a free response. Anything that these folks would like to share with you, the soon-to-be graduating class. So here are their responses, and I agree with all of these, right? So start applying early, boys. Obviously true. Good luck. Thanks. Networking is the best and easy way to get jobs. If you can do it, yeah, if you can network with your alums or other students in the program or what have you, That's going to be your simplest path, right? If you can find an in at a company, that's the best. Put in as many applications as you can. You never know what company might be interested over others. Definitely true. Maintain a GitHub, have a portfolio, website or another. Apply now, do not wait. Teach yourself a front-end language or a framework. That means learn to make a graphical user interface, guys. I totally agree. Every developer needs to know how to do something on the front end. Make something and put it in your portfolio. Again, totally agree. Make something graphical, make a front end, and make something you can show in it. And make it look nice. A nice, impressive front end can get you a job. Even if you actually don't know diddly about front-end development, if you made one decent-looking front-end development project, you could get a job. Don't use my website as an example, by the way. It's just plain HTML. The job market sucks right meow. Nice. Get on LinkedIn and update your profile. Change your availability settings to show recruiters you are looking. Add your resume to your LinkedIn profile. All good suggestions. As soon as we're done with the resume writing, in technical writing, I would suggest that you follow this person's advice and do that. I don't have a LinkedIn because I don't like to put any of my info on social media, but even I am starting to realize that that hurts me pretty badly professionally. So unfortunately, I think one day we're all going to have to bite the bullet and put our info on LinkedIn, which I believe is owned by Microsoft, so not the worst place to give your data. Don't put anything super private on there, but you should have your resume on there. And as far as I'm concerned, the actual social networking link features of LinkedIn are useless anywho, so don't be too afraid of it as a social network. It really isn't one. For CS majors especially, don't be afraid to apply for a job title that isn't labeled software developer. I started out as a QA intern, quality assurance intern, in the company I work for currently. It is not what I wanted, mainly because I never had much testing training or experience before. But it was a step into the company, a very good learning opportunity, and was able to find out more about the company. Working from there, I got insider tips on how to expand my experience while getting in full-time, switching roles, etc. It's also much less stressful for applying for roles while inside the company than for being an outsider. Hope this helps someone. LOL. Very true. Getting into the company will give you a big leg up. Some companies never promote internally, and that's a shame, or they rarely promote internally. But a lot of companies do, and they favor their internal employees. They give them first crack at it before they post the job externally. And so sometimes just getting in a company as an intern or in quality assurance or in documentation or in one of those below developer roles, maybe not below, but in the company hierarchy, often considered lower. Try getting your foot in the door on one of those. That could help you get the developer job that you want. Or you might realize that you very much like documentation or quality assurance. I know some people that work in those fields and are quite happy with their job. And those fields have room for advancement within them such that you can have a very nice job just within those fields as well. Prepare for career fairs, update your resume. Cool, we're doing that, right? Practice for personality interviews and technical interviews. Yes, practice for those. Good. Have a project that is not homework/school related that you can talk about in an interview. When you come across a challenge while programming, document the issue and how you overcame it. It is a very common question in interviews. Tell me about a time you had an issue in programming and how did you overcome it. It's a stupid question, but it's a common question. So come up with a cool answer for it. Definitely have projects that aren't homework or school related. Even if it's art or gaming or music or whatever, you can make a project that's not homework. I encourage you to make a web page or an app or something that you can show in the interview, whip it out and go, hey, I made this. Practice for those personality and technical interviews, especially if that's something that you think you're going to struggle with. I think you can even do like mock interviews in the career department here, or practice on one another in this class or in technical writing. Whatever. You can also probably take some for free online. Keep your skills sharp to fill in resume gaps. I learned more JavaScript and got a certification from freecodecamp.org. What a shill. After 3 summer internships I in-person interviewed for, canceled before I found out if I got them or not. So, yep, some people got their internships or job offers or whatever canceled or pulled. That sucks. So if that happens to you, or if you find yourself in a gap, unable to find a job, take advantage of that gap. Sharpen your skills. Get some kind of cert. Finish one of those college courses online that give you a certificate. Do something that makes it look like you weren't doing nothing, because resume gaps can be a killer. Make sure you have something that you can put down there to show how you are occupying your time. All right, that's all the feedback that I got from last semester's class. If any of you guys are watching, thank you so much for responding to me and helping out the poor saps graduating this semester and beyond. For the rest of the senior design class, the class that we're actually in today, you guys can meet in your teams and work on what you're working on. Next week, we will start having those Scrum/stand-up meetings, so I'll post the schedule to Canvas today. I've decided I'm probably just going to alternate between who I see, and you're just going to have your meetings right after the lecture ends. So I'll explain a little bit more about how that works. Make sure that you're actually doing something this week. I realize a lot of you are waiting on tours or waiting on more information, waiting on meetings, but all of you have code you could be writing right now that's going to help you after you figure out what you're doing more specifically. So I think all 4 teams have some kind of code that they could be writing right now. So make sure that you understand what it is you should be doing and get started on it this week. So take advantage of this time to think about what you could be doing and who should be working on it in the coming week. All right, I'll join you all on Discord. Thanks for tuning in.